Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 5 of Biometcast. This episode is called Crime Lab in Conversations, and today we will be exploring crime scene investigations. I'm Shokat.
I'm Karin, and today we have a really special guest with us, someone who steps right into the heart of investigation where even tiny details matters.
That's right. Today we are joined by Puan Aidora, a forensic DNA scientist, the president of Asian Forensic Sciences Network, and the senior director of Quality Management and Research Department at Chapalang Kimia Malaysia. Let's welcome her.
Thank you, Shoka and Karin, for having me. I hope that I'll be able to assist you to basically in any questions that you have.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay. Could you tell our listeners a bit more about yourself?
Basically, I've been 26 years in forensic DNA analysis. So I started my career in Department of Chemistry in Malaysia in 1998. So during that time was the what we call that the era of polymerase chain reaction PCR. So it was something new to have DNA analysis on PCR at that time in Kimia Malaysia. So I was there until last year. Then I had to move out to Quality Management and Research Center. Different building, same department but different building. Yeah.
Actually, why you have this sudden change? Because since you have the latest like PCR right for like 20 plus years, right? And why is it sudden change to like quality management?
One is career advancements.
Mhm.
Yeah. Two is let let there be a new face to actually lead or head the DNA laboratory. It's I can't deny that being in forensic DNA analysis laboratory has always been very a home for me lah, basically since for 20 odd years, right? So you feel like going home, right?
Yeah,
Every
yeah,
time you
yeah.
go to the lab. But then again, I also need to see how best that I can also look at other centers and other divisions, to see how best that we can actually make sure that things are progressing as it should, not only in forensic science but also in analytical services.
Wow,
See.
it's so nice. What inspired you to focus specifically on DNA and forensic biology rather than like other areas of forensics? Yeah.
I think that for me at that time it was dating something new. Nobody has ventured into it, and then I've always felt that doing something new is always good. Like I've been studying, chemistry all this while, and then decided to why not venture to something that is totally out of chemistry. It's not really actually totally out, but talking about DNA analysis, it's something that is at that time I wanted to really try something new, basically. Yeah, something totally different, basically.
So, like, did you study forensic science or did you come from like another background?
I studied chemistry. Basically, I'm a pure chemist actually from University of Malaya, right? And then I'm a scholarship student, so I had no choice, but I had to serve the government. So then I was asked to serve Department of Chemistry in Malaysia. So when I joined in, they gave me three options: whether I go into illicit drugs and narcotics laboratory, criminalistics, which is ballistics, or even what you call the accident, or arson cases investigation, and last but not least was DNA analysis. Right. So as I informed earlier, something new, so I went to DNA analysis, and in my second year of working there, I did my advanced DNA training in Australia, specifically in DNA forensics. And then in 2005, I pursued my master's in forensic science, majoring in DNA analysis in University of Auckland. where I work part-time at the Environmental Science Research. Also another basically forensic laboratory in Australia. Sorry, in New Zealand. Sorry.
New Zealand. How was it actually? Is it
It's
really,
good.
really
It was good.
Yes.
I mean,
Ah,
um,
uh,
being in New Zealand is a totally wonderful thing, I think, because over there you are rated on the quality of your brains. You see, so if you enjoy doing it, and people don't look at you like it you know, the whole of environmental science research lab, like though, like it's like just like Kimia Malaysia, but a forensic institution in New Zealand. I was the only one who's Malay from Malaysia and the only Muslim there, but they don't, you know, they don't look differently. You know, they're very professional about it, and I learn how to work with them and learn to see how their lab is, and it's actually very similar to our lab. It's just that, of course, it's they have a different way of working, where they work 40 hours a day. Sorry, they work 40 hours a week. So when they work 40 hours a week, you can like work 10 hours per day. So by then, Friday is your leave day.
Oh, like that.
Like that. So
Oh
very
my
flexi
God.
one. So you can come in. So they allowed me to come in. They allowed me to work with them. So they gave me. I'm actually just like one of their staff with a cubicle, with a laptop, with their email address. So they accepted me. So during that time, I did a few research with them. I did some bulletin, technical bulletin. We did some presentations. It was good. It was good.
Just
So
sounds enjoyable though.
very enjoyable. New Zealand is beautiful.
I see.
It's beautiful.
Sure.
Okay, so like people often imagine the crime scenes investigation as just like TV show, like fast paced and glamorous. So for example, TV show make it look like you can swap a sample and get instant DNA result. So in reality, is that like just really like the TV show?
No, it's not. You know, reality, even the swabbing, yeah, the actual swabbing takes 2 minutes. So sometimes you see that they swab for a while, right? You probably not get any DNA there, unless if that's actually fresh blood, then that's different. But you're talking about trace DNA. To swab trace DNA from any surfaces, you actually need at least 2 minutes of swabbing.
2 minutes.
It's 2 minutes of swabbing. You know, actually in our lab we actually time to make sure that it's actually 2 minutes for swabbing, to ensure that all the DNA, if there's any biological evidences, is transferred to the swab. Right? And of course, you need to let it dry for a while. So all in all, it takes around a day for you to extract your DNA, and then of course to also need to quantify it, because you also need to see whether there's DNA there or not. And then the total, I guess, workflow will probably be around, if you're talking about looking at that particular sample per se, it's only around 3 days, yeah, for one sample.
It takes so long.
Yes, it does. So all this CSI is actually giving me a lot of nightmares.
Do you think like is there any limits for this DNA analysis during the crime investigation?
The limit is, of course, for DNA analysis, there's no limit. The limit is on the sample itself, because you also need to ensure whether uh, when did you actually the sample is transferred to the surface. Uh, if let's say, for example, you're talking about maybe somebody being murdered outside, you know, and then that night there's a heavy flow of rain, then of course there's no more DNA you're gonna get, right? But if you're talking about you know, that particular area is in a room, and a person's even though it's a drop of blood, but in a room where it's air conditioned, it's not hot, then even after 2-3 days you're still able to get DNA. So it depends on the area.
Oh,
Yeah.
it change like depends on the environment.
Yep,
itself.
because for DNA analysis to be successful, you know, the sample itself must be kept in what you call that, a dry and
Cold temperature.
cold temperature. Yeah, so that is quite a challenge, for especially for us in Malaysia, because you're looking at, you know, hot and humid all the time, the climate. So it's the climate, I would always say, is a recipe for degradation of DNA, not preservation of DNA.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. In your opinion, right, what's the biggest misconception people have about forensic science?
Going to
scientists?
crime scene. Some of people have this idea that forensic scientist goes to crime scene. Oh, we don't. Not in Malaysia.
Oh.
Right? Because
Ah.
in Malaysia, the police will be the one to take evidence and go to crime scene. So for us forensic scientists in Kimia, Malaysia, we only go to crime scenes if we are asked to. Let's say for example, if let's say that the area is or the case is a bit tricky, it's not straightforward, or public interest cases, yeah, then forensic scientists will go to the crime scene, right? Because the setup in Malaysia is different. Let's say, for example, if you go to AFP, Australian Federal Police, then the DNA lab is under the Australian Federal Police.
Oh.
So they have what you call SOCOs, or Scene of Crime Officers. So they call it a SOCOs. So SOCOs would be the one to go to crime scene. So if you're a forensic scientist with the SOCOs, then you get to go to the crime scene. But if you're a forensic scientist working in the lab, then that is a totally different thing. That you don't go to crime scenes. So the biggest misconception is that thinking that forensic scientists get to go and see the victim, because CSI teaches you that.
Yeah, yeah.
CSI Miami or CSI New York, keep on telling that, oh, you see that the same person, running with guns, the same person go and catch the perpetrator, the same person goes to the laboratory. That does not happen in real world actually.
Oh, that sounds ridiculous. Actually.
Yeah.
Initially,
Do
I was
everything, right?
thought like that as well.
Yeah.
because, it should be like doing this forensic analysis. Most of the time, we'll be doing it in the lab, right?
Yes, right in the lab. Yeah.
Okay, and then we have talked about the lab, right? Then when biological evidence like blood or hair is brought to the lab, so what are the very first steps to make sure it's preserved properly?
Of course, first and foremost, when you receive the samples, you have to ensure that you open it, especially hair, you have to open it in fume hood, right? Because you need to ensure that the hair doesn't fly away, right? Especially you do not know, like sometimes the police do tape it, but then again, you have to be very careful. For blood, of course, you see it's blood, but how sure it's blood or not? Right, so you have to do custom media, right? So when it comes into the lab, we have to make sure that it's in the fume hood. Yeah, we have proper clothing, all the masks, gloves, all the gown, your biological gown, Then making sure that at the end of the day, you also do not know what kind of pathogens that there on the blood, on the hair. So you have to protect yourself. At the same time, you are protecting yourself from the sample as well, because you don't want to contaminate the samples, right? So that is the first thing that we do to preserve the samples. And then of course, once we have taken the samples, we usually do not take everything. Why? Because if possible, we leave some, so we do not know. Maybe in future there's better technology, or maybe the Defense Council would want to have their own, they want to have their own results where they want to test. They can do that. They want to retest it or things like, or even for us as well. We do not know, and maybe the first time something goes wrong, at least you have a backup sample to fall back on. So then after you take the sample, of course you keep it in -20 degrees to ensure again at the end of the day that you are able to preserve the samples.
Could you walk us through like how evidence travels like from police to Kimia and then to the count room and without being compromised?
Okay, so basically first and foremost, to ensure that the sample is not being compromised. Of course, I can only tell you when it's in my custody. But I'm just going to walk you through what actually happens. Let's say you found a body or somebody is being raped, right? And that person goes, so that's a big difference when somebody is being raped and somebody is murdered. When somebody is murdered, the pathologist will come together with the police to look at whether, the position of the body, to document what is happening there before the body is being sent to the post-mortem, right? But in cases of rape, the victim will be sent to the medical doctors at the one-stop center, right? So the one OSCC, every major hospital would have this OSCC, to ensure that she's processed, to see the clothing that she wore, did she take any bath, what about her fingernails, So then this evidence will be taken by police, the medical practitioners, either it's pathologists or the medical officers, and then they're going to put it inside a proper packaging. That proper packaging needs to be sealed, all right? And then they have documentation as well. What are the samples going to send to us? So when they receive, when they come to Kimia Malaysia and we come down to receive the sample, all right? So we also need to look at the the exhibits, whether it's properly labeled or not, right? And then whether it's sealed or not. And then if let's say that they send in 10 items, we also need to look at the Pool 31 or the documentation, whether that documentation did write the stand or not. So if the documentation says 11 and we only receive until 10, so you have to ask back the IO what happened to the other one, or maybe he didn't send or he forgot to send. So he needs to amend the document, because we can't receive anything that does not tally with that has been sent to us. So and every step of the way, all the exhibits needs to be sealed. We can't receive if the exhibit is not sealed. All right. So then after that we have received, and of course we register. Everything is online. We register using our laboratory information management system, or LIMS. Yeah. So every case that comes has a unique identification number. All right. So that unique identification number, even is from the same police station, but the police number is different, then it's a totally different case altogether. So it has a unique identification number. Even if the same case or the same laboratory number but being sent at different time, also has a different identification number. So usually the police also works the same as us, where their reports number is only for that particular case. Alright, so then you go to if some of you have gone through an accident, then you have to go and report, right? So your report, you can see the police report number is always different one. So that report police is registered, and that gives a unique identification number. So once we have the unique identification number, that identification number is then transferred to a sticker. So that sticker is being placed on every exhibit that we receive. So let's say we receive 10 exhibits, on every envelope or on every plastic packet there will be a sticker. And of course then we will generate a receipt. A receipt saying that, okay, from so and so, this time and this date, we received 10 exhibits, labeled A, B, C, with the seal number. Everything is documented. And then that particular receipt will be given back to the police. So that receipt will tell the police, okay, what has been given to us, who is the chemist or who is the DNA analyst that received the case. Alright, and of course what seal it is, so that is given to them. Alright, so once we receive, of course, then we will process the items. Every item, whether as whatever small it is, it will be tagged by the ID number. Right? Okay. So let's say, for example, you have, when you open up, then you will see 2 exhibits. So even though the main envelope has A, then the 2 exhibits will also be uniquely identified, A1 and A2. So no item have the same number or the same, we call that a marking. So that ensures the chain of custody. So then after that, once we have finished everything, then we do a report. Yeah, that report also have every individual marking that we have. What are the items that we receive? What are the analysis that we have conducted? What are the results? Alright, and then that report with the exhibits that we have will receive with our own seal, be given back to the police. Why? Because when you go to court, we'll be able to identify again that this is the item that was sent to us.
I can imagine the report is very long.
Actually, what is it, the workload about? Is it from what I heard, right? It sounds like very busy for the
Yes, we receive around 40,000 samples per year. Right. So our officers has not increased since 2014. So and our turnaround time is 30 days. Now, of course, it's very difficult to comply. Usually when you're talking about DNA analysis, there's so many steps, right? So you also need to look at whether it's blood or not. You have to document it. You have to sample it. You have to go through all the DNA analysis processes. Also, you have to do interpretation based on the DNA profile that you get, write a report, and then your report cannot only simply you write, then you decide that you want to give it away. No. Once you have finished your report has to go through to another person to do administrative review. So what happens in administrative review is that, or we call it AR, is that for another person to check for your typo error, to check whether your spelling is correct or not, see whether you make sure that all the items are being written properly. Then after that has been done, you have to go through a technical review, or called TR, technical review, to look at whether your results is it backed up by data or not. Not simply you say, oh yeah, it matches this and this. So technical review is somebody who's very we call that experienced and expert, to look at your data, to look at your findings, whether everything is in proper order or not. So once that is being done, after AR, after TR, then only you can print out the final report. It's not there's in any forensic cases, irrespective whether it's DNA or drugs or toxicology, there's always this two-person making sure that everything is in proper order before the report is being given to the police or the pathologist.
I see. That one would be like under quality management, right?
Yeah, it's under quality management, but forensic has its own quality management system. For forensic, you have the international accreditation, which is under the NC National Accreditation Board, which is from United States, from the US. So what happens is that every year we'll be audited externally by these people from overseas. So every 4 years we have external reassessment. We have around 30 to 40 people from United States, Canada, sometimes we have from Europe, to come in to look into our laboratory. Not only DNA, but also other laboratories, to ensure that we are doing everything properly. Right? So every year also have external, like for this year we have a surveillance document where we have to submit everything online, and they will interview us online. But next year then we have around 30 to 40 people coming in again to look at, because that's what you call a reassessment, to look at again at our data, look at our research, look at our personnel, do they have proper training, are they competent, are they proficient, and then look at our methods validated, our methods verified, and then look at our equipments maintained, do we have proper maintenance, is it fit for purpose, so it's actually a long assessment, so many things to talk about. Yes.
Okay, so can we move on to like the stories, like in your career, right? Has there been a case where DNA or trace evidence completely changed the story compared to witness testimony?
Usually when you're talking about underage sexual cases, underage, where it is what you call consensus sex, but they are less than 16-year-old, right? In those cases, whether the victim consented, they are still underage, so they cannot give consent actually. So that is considered underage rape. All right. So when that happens, of course, when you are happy, with your boyfriend, you will tell the police somebody else that did it. Right? Because you're not gonna put your boyfriend into the prison, right? Because you love your boyfriend so much, right? So of course you will say that, hey, it's not him, somebody else. Hence the story, my uncle, hence the story, my teacher, but it's actually somebody else. Why? Because you don't want that person to be put into prison. So when we do DNA analysis, we found out that it's not them, it's totally different individual, because DNA is unique. you're born with that DNA, you die with that DNA. Okay? So and that of course changes everything when it doesn't match. Then the police will go back to the victim and ask again, are you sure or not? Are you sure or not? Then last, of course, only then they gave the number, the name of their boyfriend. Then after that, only we found out, okay, it's consensual. So, but then they don't want to give. Then those kind of things, lah.
Have you worked on paternity cases where the DNA outcomes had a huge social or legal impact?
Of course, I've gone through a lot of incest cases, where incest cases, for your information, are cases where a lady is pregnant uh, due to family members. It could be your grandfather, your father, or your brothers, yeah. So of course, that would probably be a very challenging case. I've one case that I've worked on, but that was years ago, yeah, where she was pregnant. Yeah, this lady was pregnant, but she doesn't know whom the father of the child is, because she's got she got three other brothers, two older brother, one younger brother, and she has a father. So all four of them has raped her, and that is frequent rape. So in that sense, we had to take and compare all of the the reference blood specimen from the brothers and the father, and of course compare it to her and the child. So when an incest case where the child is a product of your own biological family, the DNA is very close, because you have to understand that even the brothers and her, they are from the same parents, right? So that is quite challenging, but we were very fortunate that we are able to determine that one of the brothers is actually the father of the child. All right, so for me, that is a very, it's
So crazy.
Yeah, it's very
my
crazy. It's
God.
crazy world. Yes.
Oh my God. It would be illegal, right, actually, for that.
Very illegal. Very illegal. Yeah, it's not supposed to happen. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I think our listeners would love to know about the science behind it. So could you explain the science behind DNA profiling? Like, how do you go from a tiny biological sample to a profile strong enough for court?
Okay, so basically, when you see, let's say for example, we'll start off with very something simple. When everybody's wearing specs, right? So when you open your specs, let's say that this specs in been submitted for DNA analysis. So first and foremost, when we look at a spec, where would you think that the most DNA would probably be? It probably be at where you touch your nose. That is the most DNA, as well as at the side. And but then also it also depends on how that person is wearing their specs. If that person is wearing tudung, but the spec is wear outside, then you know that this one no point one.
Yeah.
Because probably this is the best area, right? So when you take that, then you have to swap this area, alright? That is for trace evidence. But if you're talking about blood, you also need to determine where is the blood, whether it's really blood or not, whether it's semen or not. Then once you've got it, you have to cut it, right? Usually you need around 3 by 3 centimeter, right? Usually that's the ideal, for you to get a very, very good DNA profile. Now once you cut it up, you've got to put it inside the tube, then you have to extract it out. So what does extraction means? Extraction means that you have to take out the DNA, so you need to basically denature the rest of the non-DNA. So your protein, you don't want your protein, you don't want all these other things that is there. You just want your DNA. So the method that we use now is usually a solid phase extraction method, where either you use a silica base, where you sieve out, only the DNA is left there, or you use what you call magnetic beads. So you basically, your DNA, you linked it up to using difference of pH. You link it up to a magnetic beads. So once the DNA is hooked to the magnetic beads, yeah, so the rest of it is in water, right? Then you apply a bit of magnet, then your magnetic beads will touch the magnet. So then you can throw away all the solutions outside. Alright, then of course you release the magnet, then you play with the pH, then your DNA will be out from the magnet. Then that leaves you the pure DNA. So that's DNA extraction. Basically, DNA extraction is getting the DNA out of the substrate, whether it's clothing, whether it's your swab, whether it's your basically whatever it is, taking out the DNA from the substrate, right? Whether it's blood or semen, just take out the DNA. So after you have extracted the DNA, you can't see the DNA because it's very minute. So you need to do DNA quantification. So you need to know whether there's DNA or not. Right? A lot of countries sometimes omit this part. A lot of country feels that okay, after I've extract, I'll go straight to amplification. But for Malaysia, we still do DNA quantification because we need to assure that there's DNA there. Why? Because DNA quantification is DNA amplification, which is the next step, is very expensive. So that DNA amplification using a kit, it costs around 200 per sample.
200.
Per sample, alright? So then you don't want to waste that 200. So that's why quantification is good. So then when you do amplification, you imagine you have that tiny amount of DNA, then you want to ensure that not everything they're going to test on your genome. So you're going to look at only 24 areas. You know, these 24 areas are areas that you know scientists doesn't know what it's all about. But these 24 areas are very good in identifying an individual. So you amplified it using the amplification kit at these 24 areas. Then of course you run to look at the profile. So once you have the DNA profile, then you have to interpret the DNA profile, because what you get from the crime scene, you have to compare it to the reference blood, whether it's the perpetrator or it is the victim, or is it somebody in the house. So imagine if a crime were to happen in a house of 9 people. All the 9 people's DNA, blood reference will be given to us. Because sometimes it might not be the perpetrator, it might just be the DNA of the people around the house. So that is what we do, basically, from the small, getting the profile, compare it, identify it, and of course write a report on it.
I see. Actually, what will happen like if there is a mistake during the process? How you guys manage it?
Okay, that's why as much as we can, we ensure there's no mistake. That's why all our officers are trained. When you come into the DNA lab, you have to be trained for 6 months at least.
6 months.
At least 6 months, you don't receive cases, alright? Even after 6 months, after you're competent, yeah, you will be receiving what you call simple DNA cases, or what you call like paternity cases are considered like quite simple, simply because blood is a lot and people are still living. Alright? So if anything happens, you can go back and find, hey, we messed up, we want your blood, right? So that is some kind of a secure safety net for new officers to work on. So then usually that's why in our procedures, if it's not a match, we have to retest again. You know, if let's say for example you got 3 samples, right? Father, mother, child, and alleged father. So then when we do, let's say it doesn't match the alleged father. Let's say for example, like just now the lady, is an underage consensual, so decided to name somebody, so it doesn't match. So if it's not a match for us, it's like already a red signal. So okay, it doesn't match, you know, because usually we don't expect victims to lie, right? So then we will redo again. And that that means redo straight from the reference blood again, right? Do again, then we do again. If it's the same results, then we know that, you know, it's not our fault. That means something is wrong somewhere. The police needs to check. Either the victim is lying, or maybe during taking of the blood, there's some fumbling up. Somebody's blood is being sent to us, or that is also another issue, right? But then, if it's our fault, then we know lah, because then if let's say suddenly from not a match becomes a match, then of course we have to look at our procedure. So if that happens, we have to report to our accreditation body. to write to them saying that, hey, I've made a mistake, our lab have done a mistake, or what you call a non-conformance. So a non-conformance means you are not complying to your system. There's a mistake, something happened. So then we have to do the investigation, we have to write a report, fill up the form, and then look back whether this person has been doing this, is it her first mistake, look back all her cases, If it's not her first mistake, if it's something that is very severe, then she has to be suspended from work, and she has to be retrained again. So it's actually a whole long process. That's why for forensics, in especially in Kimia Malaysia, we ensure measures are being put in to ensure that there's no mistake, to ensure that our officers are really confident. Because if this kind of mistake comes up, it's very, very taxing to do the report and then reinvestigate. And you have all these samples, waiting to be analyzed, and you are busy doing something else too, just because of a small mistake. So that's why we ensure that everybody is competent, the right people at the right place, so that we hope that this kind of mistakes don't happen. Yeah.
I see. So we have talked about the specimens, right? And then like the trace evidence, right?
Yeah.
Can be as small as a single hair, or like the fiber, the clothes. And then do you think like what are the do's and don'ts when it comes to collecting and preserving such fragile evidence?
Okay, we're talking about the do's and don'ts. First and foremost, of course, you need to ensure that you have proper packaging. Yeah, you have different type of packaging for different type of samples. Let's say, for example, small sample, small packaging. Because you're talking about hair, and suddenly your packaging is an A4 size, also very difficult. Where you're going to find the hair? All right. Of course, proper packaging. Two is, of course, how you take it. What kind of instrument are you using? If you're using a tweezer, is it being what you call that, sterilized? It has to be sterilized. Are you wearing gloves when you're taking it? Are you taking it with your hand or no? Make sure that your mouth is covered, because you don't want your saliva to contaminate those samples. So those are the things that you need to do. And then that is before you take the samples. When you already put the sample in the plastic package or in the envelope or in a paper, you need to ensure that it's being taped, it's been a sealed one. You need to ensure that where you keep it, you don't put it in the sun, because once you put it in the hot sun, that's all your DNA is going to be gone. Of course, you need to also put the actual marking, whether your marking on the envelope is the same as your marking inside your document. Yeah, so you basically need to ensure, and you also, as an IO investigating officer, you also need to remember where you take the evidence from. So IO needs to know, when they take, because when they go to court, they need to know. For us in Kimia Malaysia, we can just say, when you open, this is it. Alright, so this is what we tested. But for those who are actually handling the exhibits, they also need to know where is it that they take it from, whether it's the perpetrator's house, whether it's the crime scene, whether it's the victim's house. They need to know, right? So on our part, if let's say you're talking about from the clothing, we just able to identify the clothing, and we say, okay, we take it from this area. So of course, whenever we take samples from certain clothing, we're going to mark it as well, and that will also be in our worksheets. So we have all the proper documentation.
Any tiny details have to be involved.
Yes,
in the
everything
documents.
has to be written.
Oh my
As simple as the color of the clothing, it has to be
color as
color
well.
as well. Has to be put in. And size as well.
Size, materials.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so now technology is moving very fast, and how has DNA analysis evolved since you started, and what do you see coming next?
DNA has really evolved. It started off with, when I started, it was only 3 loci. That means only 3 markers, that we're looking at. Of course, at that time, you cannot say identification or individualization, because you're talking about 3, you can't compare between siblings. Then from 3, you're talking about amplification. 3 becomes 9, 9 becomes 13, 13 becomes 16, now 24. All right, so we have evolved to see that more markers can be looked at to ensure that there is no what you call that advantageous what you call that matching. That means matching by chance. So now when you're looking at 24, there's no more matching by chance. It's definitely
The
the
markers.
DNA is yours. All right, and before you have to do a different technique to know the YSTR. Now YSTR is incorporated inside, where you also have a bit of YSTR to determine whether that person is really a male or a female. All right, so that is incorporated. Before you need a lot of blood, a lot of sample before you can do extraction. Now, like I said, even trace, even scraping of paper is enough to get a full DNA profile. So technologies evolve, and before, of course, it takes you up to, for DNA extraction alone is around 1 week, but now it's up to 2 days or 3 days, or even if we do non-stop, which means that 24 hours you don't go out, probably you'll be able to finish it in 24 hours. So for us, sometimes we have public interest cases, so we will actually be in the office. We don't go home, So you see 10 or 20 of us working, keep on rotating, working each other to ensure that we can finish the cases, in perhaps 1 day or 24 hours.
As fast as you guys can.
As fast as we can, yes.
So need to OT every day.
For forensic scientists, there's no OT.
Oh.
Because usually overtime is only given to those non-graduates.
Oh.
Alright, so if you're an officer, if you're a graduate, then you don't get OT. So you have to work. Well, that's government policy actually. So overtime is only given for non-graduates.
Non-graduate have to
basically.
like practice more.
Yeah, so you have to do it. You have to give back to the. You have to imagine it's giving back to the society.
Yeah.
Yeah, out of goodwill.
Okay, for students interested in forensic DNA or trace evidence, do you think what skills or mindset should they develop early on?
Basically, you have to be somebody very tedious. Somebody who very cautious in small things, able to catch on very fast. Yeah, you first and foremost, of course, you need to be really, your passion for it. I think because you would have to be able to spend hours looking at things. I can tell you the smell is not a smell of perfume, right?
Okay.
So you must be somebody who is able to withstand, gory things.
Okay.
Also, you be somebody who will not flinch at the blood or semen stains. Even sometimes you can find we call that fingers. Sometimes you can find people's face. You're looking at half of people's face. If you're looking at cases where people have been blown up to pieces, sometimes you get insides of a body. So you need to be able to withstand all that. At the same time, somebody who's very cautious of changes, cautious of things, look at things in a different manner, look at things, you have the patience to actually analyze, those are the things that you need to know. As well as you also need to understand that at the moment there is no forensic institution who's doing forensics private institution in Malaysia. So therefore, working for government, it is enough to get you by, but I guarantee you it's not enough to drive a Mercedes or a BMW. Alright, so that's why I say hence come the passion, right? So if you're really passionate to do it, and you're happy to do it, then of course with lots of cases you're always under pressure. When you go to court also, people will ask you lots of questions, also under pressure. So if you really liked it, then welcome, come aboard.
Your research is like that one, because you want to contribute to the society, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So contributing to the society is something, in a way, what forensic scientists have to do all the time, because your work is not straightforward. You always need to understand every case is different. and then you imagine yourself that putting in you put yourself in the victim's shoes or the victim's family, also putting yourself in the perpetrator's shoes, understanding whether it's actually him or not him. You
Okay.
cannot have that thinking,
Of
that
yourself.
hey, that person does it. No,
Uh-huh.
you cannot have that. You have to be very, impartial, in every step of your work, very, very impartial. You have to have integrity. You can't share the knowledge of your cases with anyone, not even your colleague, not even your family, all right, integrity wise. You also have to be accountable, where your whatever that you write in your report, yeah, is based on facts alone, yeah, and it's based on your findings, making sure that whenever you do stuff, you have all your quality assurance in place. You have your negative control in place, you have positive control in place, you have your blanks in place. So you need to know that hey, if your results is as such, and your blanks give a negative results, your positive result give a positive result, so you know that for sure that your results is correct.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Uh-huh.
So that, having said that, accountable, impartial, integrity, and of course, last but not least, you also need to be somebody very responsible in your job.
Responsible.
Yeah, you don't cut corners. If your SOP says step one to step 10, so you do step one to step 10. You don't jump. Some people, never mind. They're probably the same thing. Never mind, from step 2, you jump to step 7, then we follow back. Cannot. So that integrity, that responsibility has to be in a forensic scientist. Yeah.
Wow. Strictly follow the protocol.
Straightly follow the protocols. Yeah. No shortcuts.
There's so many like specific skills which is
Yes,
required.
yes.
I think it should be like including the mental, right? Is it? Strong mental.
Yes,
Yeah, people.
yes, true. Very strong mental, because
mental.
you don't want whatever that you see in the office brings you back at home. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was involved in the Elmina case. Yeah. So going to the crime scene. Yeah. So of course things changes. And then when you receive samples in the office also, um, yeah, you have to be mentally strong,
Yeah.
and you work non-stop, you don't sleep, you have to
Mhm.
be able to have, a minimal rest. At the same time, your brain still functions, to the utmost, what you call that, manner, so that you're able to know how to, see things in an objective manner.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, I'm totally agree with that actually. Yeah, that's why. If there's one thing you want the public to better understand about forensic evidence, and what would it be?
The public needs to understand that forensic science is a tool, a supporting tool to solve cases. It is not the main evidence. Why? Because it doesn't come to us straight away. Forensic scientist has its limitation, all right? Because it goes through the police. We only receive from the police, right? So, and specimens that we get from the police are specimens from the investigation, specimens from the hospital, specimen from the postmortem, right? And when it reaches us, it could be a day before,
Yes.
a day after, all right, or it could be 7 or 10 days ago, all right. So I do not know when is the time frame, all
Uh-huh.
right. So therefore, things would have happened, degradation, loss of evidence. So as a forensic science, we do not know, what is the conditions before we receive the samples. Let me rephrase that. Not one day ago lah. One day ago. How do I know?
Yeah.
So it must be one day after.
One
Whether
day
we
after.
receive it on the dot or one day after or several days after. Right. So then again, I wouldn't know what has happened to it before it reaches us. All right. So as forensic scientists, that's our limitations. All right. Also, as forensic scientists, we do not have any direct, we call that direct linkage to the public. That means I do not know who the victims parents are, I don't know who the victim's family are, perpetrators are, who their perpetrators' family are. The only time that I may be able to see the victim, if that person is alive, or the perpetrator, is during court cases. That's the only time that I get to see them, or even their family if they are present. Other than that, we don't get to see. We don't have any connections to the victim's family nor the perpetrator's family. Therefore, there's a lot of taboo saying that our reports can be changed. That people can pay money, to us to change the report. That is
Totally.
definitely cannot happen. Why? Because remember, the AR, the TR, it's not only that one person.
Yeah.
All right, so it's not as simple, because the only person that knows who received the cases will be the person that takes our receipt. Remember, in the beginning I told you that once you send the cases, we give you a receipt. The name of the scientist will be there. So how is it that this name of the scientist can go to the family of the victim or the perpetrators? So that's also one. Two, like I said, we don't meet them. Only time we meet during court cases. Three, it's the we call that AR and TR. It's not only one man show. Forensic science work in a team. All right. So of course, for you to falsify your evidence, for you to change, that is not something that can be done. All right. So that is something I want the public to know, that we are not the sole evidence. Also, we do not, have any reason to falsify or to change the case. In fact, I would like to share with you is that, let's say, when we read the facts of the case, it happened in my village or to somebody that I probably know who that person is, then definitely I cannot take the case anymore. I cannot participate in the case anymore. It has to be given to somebody else. Remember, impartiality? So I cannot receive anymore. So I do have cases where sometimes that person knows basically I'm going to tell you a true story where one of the officers in a different division, whose victim is involved, whose victim is a family member of that person. So then he knows, of course he knows, because we are in the same building, also even though different division but same building. So that person kind of know who received the case. So then that person went to to the person who received the case and asked, hey, you received the case, so how was it? Did you get anything? So that particular scientist come to me and report and says that, hey, I know that person is the family of the victim, but that person has been asking me. So automatically I took the case. So we changed. And then I told the person, just tell that the family members that you do not know anymore, because the change has been transferred to somebody else. So then it was an internal thingy, then that person cannot know who has received the case. So that also has happened, where we make sure that the integrity of the case is being preserved. Make sure that nobody else would probably know or find out the results or know what's happening to that case. So that is actually a true case where I had to take away the case from an officer, simply because the family member, so also working there, knows. I mean, as a family member, I understand that he wants to know, all right? But on our part, we can't have that happening, because we need to preserve the integrity. Because sometimes people did not plan to tell, but as you talk to each other, then things suddenly comes out or transpire, or body language may tell you things, you see. So face. So the best way is just take the case away, and then that person is easy. Then go and see the friend and say, I don't know anymore, I've given it to somebody else. So that straightforward.
It's, this like the quality assurance, like it involves like so many process. So I believe like it's quite hard for people to cheat on it, right?
Definitely, it's very difficult to
Yeah.
cheat because everything is documented, everything is in the limbs. and you do not know. Basically, when if you are the receiving chemist, you know what case it is. But then again, so once the worksheet has been out, other people do not know. They just know the lab number.
Oh.
Then and then your limbs is also by password. Nobody knows your password except you.
Wow.
Alright, and then there's also audit trail where you can see who is actually opening up the limb system. They can trace back. So to cheat or to change stuff is not easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's impressive actually. Yeah. So it's time for our last part of this postcard. Is it okay?
Yes.
Do you have any like advice to tell about to our listeners? Yeah.
I hope that the listeners understand that the quality of the forensic scientists in Malaysia is very, very good and very, very excellent. Yeah, we have all the quality assurance put in. Yeah, and we have international accreditation since 2005. So this year is the 20th year of us having international accreditation, and we are the only laboratory that has international accreditation. All right, for forensic science. And do trust us. We are the backbenchers that ensure that your what you call that, our country, yours and mine, our country is safe. I often like to say that Kimia Malaysia has a tagline. Okay, the water that you drink, the air that you breathe, the food that you eat, and the safetiness and the security of your surroundings are all being analysed in Department of Chemistry Malaysia. Because apart from forensic science, we also do air quality monitoring, water, environment, food, to ensure that that the food that you eat are safe, not too much derivatives. So all that is being analysed in Kimia Malaysia. So do trust us.
Yes.
It's so inspiring. Like I just like kind of like want to join Kimia already.
Welcome aboard. Come
Yeah, yeah,
aboard.
yeah, yeah, sure,
Come
sure, sure.
aboard. Yeah.
Okay. So this has been such an like professional conversation. So thank you, Puan Idora, for taking us inside the world of crime scenes.
Thank you as
Yeah,
well
yes,
for
thank
having
you.
me.
Uh-huh.
And I hope that you are able to get what you want. I hope that your listeners are happy with it. Yeah. So thank you so much for having me. And I hope that you have a great journey. Yeah. And I hope that you be the best of the best.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing
Thank
your
you so
stories
much as
today.
well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave us a review. Until next time, this has been Crime Lab Conversations.